Bennett,
Good
good
morning.
morning. I want to be the most enthusiastic person on LinkedIn today and wherever else we're broadcasting. Is it
Yes, Facebook and Instagram, perhaps LinkedIn. Yeah.
holy buckets?
Holy. Hey, I want to be the first to say happy anniversary to you, Meredith Grundy.
Oh, happy anniversary to
What a
you.
year it has been. Truly, truly, right?
It has been quite the year. It
I
has been
know.
quite the year. It's fun being a podcaster, and this is I think everyone should be one. I don't care about competition. I think it's healthy.
Right.
Everyone should have a podcast. Do you know why?
I
Go.
know. I know why
No,
I
what's
think.
your answer? And I'll give you mine, but I just spoke a lot.
Oh, I think because we all have a story to share and we all have something that of value that we can bring forth. However, I'm going to ask for your answer and then I'm going to share the second part of my answer. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I what I have found for myself over the last year is that it has really helped me find my voice and step into the
Mm,
power of my voice more. I know when as a young kid I'd be the one that was like sitting in the back because I didn't want people to call on me because I was afraid my answer would be wrong or I wouldn't sound smart. And I've carried that even though I've been a performer all these years and I probably come across as very like forward facing, if you will, if that's even the thing. But
it is now.
it is now. See, and I have over the years or this last year, I feel like I've really stepped into my voice more, which has been really wonderful. And
Mm,
it's been
that's
helpful to have a collaborator, to have community that supports you and lifts you up in that way.
what a segue. You didn't even know that that was going to be part of my answer. So when you said, I think everybody should have a podcast, I also believe that. And if there's one piece of advice that I would give those that are considering being a podcaster, it would absolutely be find a collaborator. I can't even say it. Finding my voice because there's so much that we can bring to the table when we are in collaboration and when we have a co-host. I would never want to do this without you, Meredith. Truly,
Oh,
truly.
ditto.
And I would encourage people to, there's this adage that says always hire people smarter than you.
Hmm.
I believe that 100%. I never want to be the smartest person in the room, and I never am. Okay,
Well, me
really,
neither.
truly.
And it's too much freaking pressure, I gotta say. It's like, I'm
But
happy to be like, like I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. Just tell me what to do. And then I'll
I
yes
think
and that, and then I'll add to it. Boom.
I think we just achieved the most energetic people on LinkedIn this morning. I think we could just give ourselves an award. Here's the award.
Oh, here's mine. It's my water bottle that I'm just so
I
excited
can
about.
lead a course to your water bottle, but
Thank
I
you.
cannot make it drink.
Thank you. Hey,
Hey,
hey, I just I do need to say that the accountability piece has been really huge too, right? Because I want to say I want to acknowledge the people that are doing a podcast solo for their businesses because that's a
wow.
huge commitment and the consistency that it takes and the ability to be able to show up for your audience and serve them and add value for them. So if you are watching this and you happen to be a solopreneur who is doing their own podcast, uh, kudos to you. And I have to say, the people who are listening to your podcast and lifting up that space for you, like you are doing them such a value, such a service. It's such a beautiful gift that you're giving people. So I just want to say, boom, those people.
Boom, yes. And can we give a shout out to the amazing I'm going to get through this without crying, Meredith. The amazing guests that we have had over the past year. Because what I notice about our guests is that they have a few things in common, right?
Yeah.
Some of those things that they have in common is that their hearts are like the size of Cincinnati, which is really saying something. Because for
Hmm.
those of our listeners that are not Americans, Cincinnati is a big place.
It's not as big as Texas, though. Texas,
It's,
but
yeah,
that's a different discussion.
that's yeah. We'll do a podcast about that.
I love Texans, though. That was not a judgment on Texans.
So our guests, they have huge hearts, and they're also incredibly generous because what they're offering is they're showing up free. Like we don't pay any of our guests yet. That may be something that comes down the pike. But
Ooh,
they're
can we get
sharing.
paid too?
Yeah, we should get paid too. We're looking for sponsors. If you want
Yes,
to be
we
part of this
are.
show, we
We
are
are.
absolutely looking for sponsors. Oh my gosh. And look, cheers to being one. Happy anniversary,
Thank
says
you,
Jared.
Jared. Jared also has a podcast. Jared, you got to put it in the comments so that we can all support you. And I also want to recognize that Joseph is here too, and he's starting a podcast. So that this is just super exciting. And if you're just joining us, I was saying earlier that I think everyone should do a podcast, and I love the healthy competition. And I think we should all be supporting each other, lifting each other up. And those that are doing like a podcast solo, and I know Jared is has a co-host as well, which is awesome. But it's hard to show up. So kudos. I just wanted to applaud that. And now back to you, Joseph, because you were in the middle of saying something. We should not cut off your
I'm
wisdom.
almost finished. And that is that our guests have been so generous in sharing their wisdom and sharing their difficulties and sharing some of the stumbles that they've had in life, because permission is really a thing. It's a thing that we have denied ourselves for years. And now we're showing up and having conversations about it. And I just want to give a huge shout out to our beautiful and generous guests.
Yeah,
So
me
thank you.
too.
Thank you to them.
Yeah,
Really.
because without our guests, we wouldn't have a podcast. Really. I mean, we
We would
could
just
have a
have each
podcast.
other.
We would
Yeah,
just
but
talk to each other, which is awesome because I always learn something from you, Joseph Bennett. Don't get me wrong. It's so rich though when we have a guest on our show that offers us both different perspectives. And I think what happens for me is I cultivate further curiosity because people will always say something that maybe I knew, but I didn't know. I just kind of sat on the fringes of thinking I knew it. And then they opened up my mind to like further exploring whatever subject that we're discussing. And I just think it's so beautiful, the unique ways that people enter in maybe to the same conversation.
And then I can only imagine and hope that those conversations then are happening with our listeners, maybe in their homes or in their communities or with their partners. Because I hope that the podcast doesn't just end when we say stop recording, right? I hope that that's just the beginning of conversations for our guests to be having about what. Can I get a little heavy? Is that allowed in
Oh my
Lincoln?
God. Yeah, you can be
What
you. You be
what
you.
what have we been denying ourselves for decades, right? Because some of our listeners are 40s, 50s, 60s. What have we been denying ourselves all these years? And what's possible?
Mm-hmm.
What is now possible based on conversations, based on concepts, based on ideas, based on our guests and what they're sharing? So that's what I want to share.
Beautiful. I love the what's possible. I think it's big, open-hearted. I think yes, and to that. I also have I've appreciated the questions it's forced me to answer in my own work. Like we talk about this thing, we talk about permission, and I have been sitting with that for a long time. Like, what does that actually mean, right? For me, I reflect back, and I just mentioned it a few minutes ago, but sitting in the classroom, hiding in the back because I was afraid to speak up. And on the same, but I was waiting for permission somehow. Like I was in that classroom still, I was waiting for permission if I did raise my hand to be called on. I was waiting for permission. I wasn't asked permission if I was called on without raising my hand. I was asking permission to go to the bathroom, asking permission to answer a question sometimes. And then you go home and you're constantly asking permission. Can I have a snack from the fridge? Can I stay up later? Can I watch this show? Can I? And we kind of get trained in that way to not have agency. And then we get out of school. And if we're not taught the critical thinking, then it's really we just fall into the same patterns. We wait for somebody else to allow us, give us the permission to live the life that we want to live. And so I'm so excited about our podcast, and I'm thrilled that we and for me it's like if we can just reach one person, I feel like I've done my job, honestly. It's one person. right?
Right.
Because then that person will go out and do their thing and
Mm.
help one person
If
and
you
so
reach
forth and
one
so on.
person, you have helped 1,000, says the telling.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm reflecting back because it's our anniversary, so that's part of what we do. That it was January 15th of last year when I had a moment of inspiration. This was
Mhm.
not from me, this was downloaded from source. That I had the thought, the idea, oh, do a podcast with Meredith Grundy. And you and we're pretty multi-hyphenate, as you like to say,
Yes.
multi-passionate people. We've got a lot going on. And my second thought was, oh, she's got a lot going on. I got a lot going on. And I wanted to talk myself out of it instantaneously. That was my plan. I can talk myself out of this. I can just go on with my other projects. But instead, I got out of bed because I was laying down for a nap. I got out of bed. I came upstairs. I found my phone, which that is the first miracle that I found my phone. That was great.
It's great.
And I sent you a message and I said, hey, I have an idea. Are you around tonight? And we chatted. And you immediately said yes
I did.
without even, you didn't even take a breath. You just said yes. And then here we are a year later. And do you have advice for those that are thinking about, I'm putting you on the spot, Meredith. Do you have advice for those that are thinking about either starting a podcast or starting a project? Because not everybody wants to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think, well, I'm just going to speak from what I know, which is what we did is we started asking questions. We got super curious. We started to ask where are the communities that we want to learn from. And we ended up falling on the Akimbo workshop, Seth Godin's podcasting workshop, which we took together. We found it really helpful. It got us started.
Mm,
It gave us all the tools that we
absolutely.
needed, right? And what was wonderful is that were multiple coaches in there who also did podcasts who had given us resources to look at. And, I always say this to my own clients, there's no one size fits all approach to things. You've got to figure out what platform is going to work best for you. We ended up using Simplecast. And then I remember we were going in and out of like, how are we going to record? What mics are we going to use? And we fumbled a lot. We screwed up a lot. Right. And we figured out how no, that wasn't just we learned from our mistakes. We did. I mean,
Mm,
there's some of our podcast, and then here's the other thing I would say is you just got to release. It's not going to ever be perfect. Perfection is highly overrated. There's some of our episodes, and sadly, the volume's off a little bit. Like we couldn't quite get it matched up. I was editing at first. We've now sourced
mm.
some of that out. I want to give a big, just a shout out to Mitch, who's been helping us with
Mitchell
our
Pilan,
editing.
yes, yes. Hmm.
I think you work it out as you go and you keep
And
asking questions.
yes, and here it is even a year later, and I just saw some notes from one of us, I won't say which one, to Mitchell, like, oh, at this one point in the conversation, can you edit that out? Because I forgot what I was saying. Like that still happens a year later, right? We're
Yes.
still like in that imperfection.
Yes.
And I would say if I was giving some advice to somebody who wants to start a project or a podcast, like I hate to sound like a Hallmark card, but I'm willing to do it because it's early in the morning. I've only had a cup of decaf. And that is keep your sense of humor. Like, come
Mm-hmm.
on. Like, do we have to be so serious about our projects and our likes and our shares and our texts? And like, just keep a sense of humor because it's supposed to be fun, right?
Yes.
Really,
Oh my
truly, truly
God.
allow yourself that. Like, give yourself permission to be silly, to be irreverent, to just lighten up because
Yeah.
I believe vibrationally that when we are having fun, when we are allowing ourselves that space, that the universe likes that, right? The
Mm-hmm.
universe is going to feed
Mm-hmm.
that versus any kind of constriction or sadness or seriousness or beating ourselves up. The universe is going to be like, we're going to stay away from that, all that seriousness.
Yeah. Well, like I always like to say, not too tight, not too loose.
Mm. Is that a Barbara Daly?
I learned it from Barbara Dilley, who was a mentor of mine. And I think it's an Allen Ginsberg quote.
Mm.
actually think it's an Allen Ginsberg quote.
Well, she was one of our guests. Allen
She
Ginsberg
was.
was not, because he
No,
unfortunately died before we
no.
started our podcast.
We tried, but it doesn't work that way. We
It
found.
doesn't not
That
yet.
was
Not
not
yet. Come
yet.
on, we have no idea what 2022 is bringing. We're
We have
getting
no idea.
sponsors and we're interviewing the dead.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is beautiful. We have
In
found
that order.
our niche. We
Okay.
only
okay.
interview dead
That's
people.
That's a question. If
Okay.
you could interview somebody who has already passed, who would that be?
Oh, that is a good question. Are you asking me that question, or are you asking the people who are watching right now? And I just want to give a shout out to Franklin. Thank you, Franklin.
Franklin Taggart's here.
He was also on our podcast. So
He
beautiful.
was, and he has a brilliant podcast. He interviewed my husband yesterday.
Oh,
called,
fantastic.
I know.
Oh, I love it. See, and this is the other thing that's really fun about the
what's Franklin's
podcasting
podcast?
is we start what?
Your Own Best Company is Franklin's Best Podcast. I don't want to
Yes.
skip over that.
No. And please, people put these links. I will put the links in the comments if you don't, because I'm all about lifting each other up. So, okay. Did you want me to answer that question, or?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Sophie. Oh, I can show. See, I just learned something new on Restream. I can show people's. Look at that. I can show that. Look at that. See, I can show that people made comments. Is this exciting for you?
Yes. Okay. It is, truly.
Cool.
Who would you interview? Or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first, because I need to figure out how to get back over here now. Okay, there we go. Boom. Yes, go.
The person who comes top of mind is Mother Teresa. I would really want to interview her for a number of reasons, but one reason is because we have thousands of listeners, right? And maybe we could reach people who haven't heard of Mother Teresa and give her a platform. Could you imagine giving Mother Teresa a platform where she can share her message about why she does what she does? Because that was some dangerous shit that she was doing.
It was
really and truly. So what about you? Who?
Well, I have to speak into the Mother Teresa thing first, because I don't know if you know this about me, but I was hired to play Mother Teresa numerous occasions.
I believe it.
For an organization. I would literally be snuck into the back of this very large house in Keystone, Colorado.
A house for our listeners means a theater.
No, it was a house.
Oh,
it was an actual house.
It was an actual. See, I'm such a thespian. I just think when you say house,
it was this corporate thing, and they would. I would show up, and I would put on my costume, and I would sneak up some stairs, and I would wait for these people who were having a meeting about leadership and growth opportunity, and I would be stirring soup, and then they would come down. It'd be about 15 people, all in the medical field, healthcare. And I would serve them soup as I was delivering a monologue about abundance. Oh. And then I would say, Amen, God bless. And then I would sneak down the stairs, and they would sneak me back. I'd get in my car and I'd drive away. That was my job.
I wish I
as Mother Teresa.
That. I wish I had been part of that. That's so beautiful. Who would you interview?
Who would I interview? This is a hard question. There's so many people I would interview. Who would I interview? That's dead. Okay. People that are alive keep popping into my head. Somebody that is dead. Oh, I would interview my own father.
Oh, yes, of course.
I would interview my own father. Yeah.
You're doing a project about him, aren't you?
I'm doing a project. Actually, I just got a residency to continue working on the project. So I'm super excited about that. So shout out to Culture Lab here in New York City.
Thank you, Culture Lab. You made a great decision.
Thank you. Yeah. So I will be further working on that project. And so I have a lot of questions for my father, who passed away in 2011. And that's who I would interview. Yeah.
So how do we find our guests? Because that's the thing, right? People say, oh, how do you find all these amazing people? How do we do that?
Well, we've reached out to our community, and then we've also had people reach out to us. I've had like 2 people reach out to me just in the last week alone. And we really encourage people who've like taken those huge leaps of faith, whether that be you're a creator, a creative, an artist, I strongly feel that entrepreneurs are artists because it takes a lot of curiosity to have your own business. So I just say reach out to us it's Meridith Joseph at gmail.com is our combined email, or you can reach out to us here on LinkedIn or on Facebook. And we've had also people reach out to us that we don't know, and that's been happening a lot more lately. Which is like we have people's PR folks reaching out to us, and I'm just so thrilled. I just feel like this is kind of taking on a life of its own, and because we have consistently shown up to serve our audience, and it's been so much of an eye-opening, enriching, heart-opening journey. Yeah.
Mind-opening. So one thing you just said that I like a lot of what you said, and I am affected by it, but one of your favorite words, I don't know if you know this, but one of your favorite words is curiosity. So those who are seeing this restream, this live, I would invite in more curiosity in your life. So not so much like, why isn't this working and why is life so tough? But can you be curious about other solutions, about other people, about other team members that you can invite into your world to make things easier and light? Let's do that. Let's give ourselves the grace of that.
100%. Yeah.
Where can people find us? Where can people find Are You Waiting for Permission podcast?
They can find us on all the streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify. We are both, you can find the podcast on my website, which is Meridith what is my website? Oh God. All of the questions, Meridith Grundy at grundycoaching.com. And then also you can find Joseph at josephbennett.org.
Look at you with your beautiful labels. Wow.
Well, it's so funny because I've been on Restream. Because I got curious, I figured out this was here.
Oh.
Boom. See. Yeah. So please, if you haven't listened to the podcast yet, please do follow us. Please do listen to the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave us a review. We have a Patreon page as well. So you can just Patreon / Are You Waiting for Permission? We will always appreciate that support. I think you get a mug. I mean, who doesn't want a mug with our mugs on it? So there's lots of different ways you can find us. And please do, if you have your own podcast or if you're starting your podcast, please reach out to us because I am so happy to support you and your endeavors as well.
Jared has a question. He says, what dead musician would you interview?
Oh, Jared. Dead musician. This is another thing where I'm like, who's still?
I have one.
Oh, go.
It's just first thought, best thought. Okay, Jared, and I'm not even sure why, but I'm a fan of Freddie Mercury. And for him to show up with his music, with his mouth, right? If you saw the documentary or the mockumentary about him, like he was concerned about his teeth and how his sound would be, and what he experienced going through the AIDS epidemic. Freddie Mercury. That's my answer.
Okay, I'll go with first thought, best thought too. The first person that popped in my head was John Lennon, and I was like, let's just talk about, was Yoko Ono really that disruptive?
John Lennon.
Because I don't think so. They have a documentary out right now that I haven't watched yet, but she just kind of sits there and knits, and it's magically her badass self. Adam Yock for Jared. Okay, Jared, you got to put in the comments. Please give me some reference point. And I know that we share some musical tastes, but tell me which. Mozart. Love it. This is such a great conversation. That was a great question, Jared. Yes, I love it.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I wish my husband was here to answer this question too, because he's a musician. And can I just say, he is celebrating his 3-year anniversary today, which is so bizarre, with Golden Lotus Studios. So if you haven't checked out Gary Grundy, we share a last name, check him out because he does online songwriting workshops and stuff for musician folks. And he's pretty cool, I guess.
So 30th anniversary for
I
Golden
love
Lotus,
that Beastie Boys. Love the Beastie Boys.
Golden Lotus
Mm-hmm.
Studio. Let's
Uh-huh.
not sweep that under the rug too quickly. They
No.
also do this music for Are You Waiting for Permission? And a whole lot of other things. But that's part of what they have done, generously given us music.
Generously. Yes. Yes. So please, when you listen to our podcast, you will hear their music. And Amy Shelley. We got to give a shout out to Amy Shelley.
I don't know her. I mean, I
You
met
need to
her.
meet Amy Shelley. So Amy Shelley and Gary Grundy together are high fiction. That's our music. Check
I
them
met
out,
her at
Jared, and
your
everyone
Zoom
watching.
birthday call. I met her, but that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
She wouldn't remember it. Okay, I think we're done, right? These people
think-
have to go to work. It's Friday.
Who? I mean, do they? I mean,
I don't know.
not too tight, not too loose,
Right.
Joseph.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm going to the park. I'm going to the botanical gardens. Right.
I am getting on a Zoom call after this.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah. Okay. This has been super fun. Joseph, I love
Happy
and adore
anniversary
you.
again. I love and adore you. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes and a year ago, because it has opened up this incredible world that I didn't know anything about. I knew so little about podcasting. I wasn't even sure how to spell it. Like, that's how little
I
I knew.
know. We worked a
And
little
here we
while
are.
on that.
Yeah.
Hi,
Auto
Karen.
correct. Oh, hi, Karen. Welcome. We're just closing up, but thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh. This has been, I have loved this. I have loved some of the questions that have come, all of the questions that have come in. It's just, I sometimes when I get stuck on a question, I go, God, so many choices in this world. There's so many brilliant flipping minds.
Can I add to the second part, because I had trouble thinking of this person's name when I said Mother Teresa? The other person that I would absolutely want to interview that I did meet before she died was Rosa Parks.
Oh, you did?
I would love to interview her and find out, because she freaking gave herself permission.
She made herself a
Oh,
part of a huge cause for sure. Yes. Yes.
she changed the course of history by sitting down. We think that we have to stand up and get noisy and make ruckus. She just sat down and said, I deserve to sit here. I'm tired. I've worked 10 hours today. Beautiful. Okay.
All right.
Have a great day.
I love you, gorgeous soul. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you.